On the vast, wild grasslands, every movement can erupt into a fierce confrontation in seconds. As distance narrows, the instinct to hunt and the strength of the pack begin to push tensions to their peak, where even a small misstep can change the entire situation. And in that brief moment, the survivor isn't always the strongest, but the one who strikes at the right time. In open grasslands, buffalo exhibit a strong protective instinct, rarely fleeing alone when threatened. They maintain dense herd formations, keeping close together to form a unified, impenetrable mass. This coordination ensures each individual remains within the herd's support range, even as pressure builds and small gaps appear. From close range, the lion lowers its body and approaches from a less conspicuous direction. When the time is right, one jumps onto the buffalo's back to disorient it, while others cling to its hips and neck to maintain pressure. The buffalo reacts by kicking forcefully with its hind legs, shaking its body, and attempting to lunge towards the herd to escape control. But the safe distance is no longer maintained. The pressure doesn't stop. The lion uses its stamina and weight to slow its target down over time. The buffalo herd returned to the rescue, charging forward and forcing the lion to disperse for a few seconds, creating an escape opportunity. But when the target individual could no longer maintain its reaction, the herd retreated, and the lion regained control of the situation, gradually shifting the outcome in their favor. There is no single decisive moment, but rather a continuous series of changes leading to the result. The buffalo herd's coordination created an opportunity for a reversal, but the lion's sustained pressure gradually altered the outcome. In a natural environment, controlling the rhythm and timing is always more important than a single reaction. In their pack structure, wild dogs don't act alone, but always react based on shared signals. They demonstrate intelligence in choosing timing and coordinating according to the signal rhythm instead of acting randomly. When young individuals move close together during their activities, the coordination rhythm is temporarily disrupted, creating a point of contact. From a low, hidden corner, the lion keeps its body close and monitors the movement around the den. When the distance is short enough, the lion accelerates suddenly and penetrates the central area, separating the individuals. Unable to react in time, the pack scatters in many directions, and a young individual is trapped in a narrow space. The pressure increases rapidly with the appearance of more lions around. Narrowing the escape area, wild dogs can no longer maintain coordinated signals and are forced to prioritize movement to avoid being cornered. The confrontation ends when the lion controls the den area, and the wild dog retreats to preserve its forces. There isn't a single decisive moment, but rather a disruption of the coordinated rhythm according to the signal. When timing is lost and distance is shortened too quickly, the herd's advantage diminishes significantly. In nature, control of timing and space often determines the final outcome. Within their vast territories, lions maintain a memory of familiar prey movement routes and key approach points. They tend to patrol continuously to control the area, maintaining a stable presence over time. This organizational structure allows lions to quickly recognize subtle changes in territory, and any unusual intrusion is immediately detected. During their movement, the leopard inadvertently enters a controlled area without detecting any clear warning signals. From a close distance, the lion keeps its body low and approaches in a way that blocks the leopard's escape route. As the distance shortens, the lion accelerates and closes in, forcing the leopard to react in a confined space. The leopard attempts to escape the controlled area by changing direction and seeking a retreat to higher ground. However, the pressure from the lion prevents the distance from widening enough to reverse the situation. The confrontation ends when the leopard is forced to leave the area, while the lion maintains control of the territory. There is no prolonged conflict, but rather a short-term re-establishment of boundaries. When an individual encroaches on a controlled territory, the advantage usually goes to the one who understands the space. In nature, understanding territory and maintaining a stable presence are decisive factors in determining outcomes. In humid forest and riverside environments, jaguars maintain their predatory instincts with a high concentration of close-range movement. Their strong jaws and necks allow them to effectively hold onto their target for short periods. They move along waterways and dense thickets, utilizing the terrain to control space, thus forming overlapping zones. Initially, neither rushes forward but moves in a gentle circle, keeping their eyes on their opponent and constantly assessing their reaction. The distance is narrowed very slowly, each individual trying to maintain position without revealing obvious weaknesses. When the moment opens, one accelerates and closes in, making the space even more cramped. Both use their front legs to push and find points of contact, while applying pressure to the shoulders and neck to disrupt balance. After several collisions, one individual retreats slightly and reduces pressure, shifting to a defensive stance. The remaining individual advances but does not pursue too far, maintaining control of the area based on the advantage just created. The confrontation ends when one animal leaves the area before serious injury occurs. There is no prolonged action, but rather an adjustment of pressure to force the opponent to retreat in a safer direction. In nature, avoiding injury is just as important as gaining an advantage at a moment, and the decision to stop is often the last factor. The impala's survival depends on its ability to regulate its speed and the spread of its response within the pack. When an individual reacts, the entire pack quickly spreads the signal and moves away from the area. However, getting too close to the water's edge suddenly shortens the safe distance, creating a direct risk. Just below the water's surface, the crocodile keeps its body almost invisible and waits for the right moment. When an impala enters close range, the crocodile lunges forward in a short burst and creates immediate pressure, forcing the prey to thrash violently and try to retreat to shore. The pack's response begins to form. and the target escapes the danger zone after a short effort. But once it leaves the water's edge, the impala can no longer maintain a steady pace. Another threat emerges from the vicinity, taking advantage of its weakened state to approach at close range. The confrontation ended when a series of consecutive pressures eroded the initial advantage, demonstrating that the outcome can change even when things seem secure. During food sharing, hyenas use vocalizations to coordinate actions and maintain group cohesion. They coordinate in a pincer movement, clearly defining roles between chasing and blocking to control space. However, when focused on food, the safe distance between individuals begins to shrink, creating a temporary vulnerability. From the shadows, the lion keeps its body low and approaches without making a clear signal. When close enough, the lion accelerates suddenly and subdues an individual at the edge, creating continuous pressure in the confined space. The remaining hyenas react quickly, signaling, moving around, and creating interference to draw their comrades out of danger. The initial pressure is tilted toward the lion, but with multiple approaches simultaneously, the space begins to shrink in reverse. The hyena formation gradually closes, maintaining distance and forcing the lion to lose its initial advantage. The confrontation ends when the injured individual is pulled away, and the lion doesn't pursue further. No outcome is decided in a single moment, but rather by a continuous shift in position and pressure. When an individual is separated, the pack can adjust to restore structure and reverse the situation. In nature, the ability to maintain cohesion and react synchronously can balance out power imbalances among individuals. In areas with an open field of vision, impalas maintain a heightened vigilance for unusual movements and sounds. When threatened, they activate a zigzag run to disrupt predator orientation while simultaneously observing their surroundings as they graze. This distraction allows for early detection, but can also create a momentary gap as distance shortens. From their hiding place, leopards keep their bodies close to the ground and remain almost motionless, observing the herd's movements. When an impala approaches the edge of the formation, the leopard springs up quickly and approaches rapidly. The short distance reduces reaction time, preventing the zigzag trajectory from fully forming, thus diminishing their defensive advantage. The confrontation ends when the impala fails to maintain its rhythm of changing direction and is controlled at close range. Leopards maintain their advantage through patience, precise distance, and timing. In nature, a small deviation in observation can translate into noticeable results when the reaction rhythm is no longer maintained. In the wild, the outcome of each confrontation is often determined by the ability to maintain a consistent pace and adapt to constantly changing pressure. In just a few fleeting moments, the advantage can shift from one side to the other as distance and formation begin to become unstable. Ultimately, composure and control of the situation are what determine the outcome of the encounter. The limits don't lie in strength, but in the ability to maintain and adapt tactics to each situation. In every confrontation, the advantage doesn't belong to the strongest, but to the one who maintains the rhythm and controls the space better. In nature, the outcome is always determined by how each species adapts to its own limitations. On vast grasslands, African wild dogs maintain a very tight and stable pack structure. Each individual moves in unison, constantly adjusting their position to support one another. Their hunting tactics don't rely on individual strength, but on coordination and maintaining constant pressure. When approaching a target, the entire pack moves in a controlled manner, maintaining distance and waiting for the right moment. Pressure is gradually increased step by step, not creating a single attack, but rather a sustained one over time. They often target fast-running species such as impalas, gazelles, or the young of wildebeest and zebras, where the steady pursuit rhythm gradually slows the target. In their collective lifestyle, each individual has a clear role in the hunting process. Coordination helps control space and restrict the opponent's movement. This is the foundation of this species' high hunting efficiency. In areas where lions are present, the surrounding space is quickly brought under control. Lions maintain their stalking instincts at close range, keeping their bodies low to avoid detection. They live in well-structured prides, allowing them to control space from multiple directions. The combination of concealment and coordination ensures that lions are always ready to react to any unusual movement. As soon as they detect the presence of a lion, wild dogs completely cease their hunting behavior and switch to escaping. They don't charge, but move in multiple directions, approaching and retreating repeatedly to create chaotic space. The pressure isn't aimed at a direct attack, but forces the lion to adjust its position and lose its pursuit advantage. The confrontation ends when the lion stops chasing and gradually retreats from the area. This isn't a sign of weakness, but rather a decision to avoid unnecessary energy expenditure. Wild dogs maintain their advantage by understanding when to approach and when to retreat. In harsh conditions, warthogs utilize available burrows to conserve energy and increase their chances of survival. They move in small groups, observing in multiple directions and reacting quickly to unusual signals. When foraging, warthogs kneel low, maintaining a stable center of gravity and ready to react. Their curved tusks are used as a close-range defense, maintaining a safe distance. Instead of charging head-on, the wild dog approaches and then withdraws, constantly changing angles to force the warthog to turn. Pressure is distributed in multiple directions, forcing the opponent to constantly change position. When a warthog is out of sync, the encirclement closes quickly and space is reduced. The confrontation ends when the warthog can no longer maintain its defensive rhythm and safe distance. The wild dog wins by correctly reading the movement and maintaining pressure over time. When the environment is still quiet, the impala maintains alertness to every small movement. Its quick perception allows it to detect danger very early and adjust its direction immediately. Its agile reflexes allow for continuous changes of direction without losing balance, creating an initial escape advantage. Instead of charging immediately, the wild dog maintains distance and observes to choose the right target to separate from the pack. The formation quickly divides roles. One group follows from behind, another moves to block the direction, and the rest maintain pressure. These close approaches are brief and then withdrawn, causing the impala's running pace to gradually lengthen and become unstable. As fatigue sets in, the impala begins to change direction more slowly and loses control of its movement. Space is reduced, and a safe distance is no longer maintained. The chase ended when the impala could no longer maintain its reflexes and keep a safe distance, while the wild dog maintained constant pressure. On open, dry land, the oryx maintains composure and reacts quickly to any change. They always maintain a facing stance, control distance, and are ready to defend when necessary. This positioning forces the opponent to find ways to break the defensive rhythm. Instead of charging head-on, the wild dog approaches and then retreats, constantly changing angles to create pressure. This movement forces the oryx to constantly turn and begin to lose its reaction rhythm. As the rhythm slows, approaches from behind gradually open up. The confrontation ends when the oryx can no longer maintain a stable defensive rhythm. Space is controlled, and escape opportunities are no longer maintained. The wild dog wins by breaking the defense system over time. In open grassland environments, wildebeest move in large packs and maintain close spacing to minimize the risk of being separated. They maintain constant cohesion, creating a collective defense against any threat. The fleeing reflex is triggered almost instantly upon detecting unusual movement. From a distance, wildebeest observe and select individuals showing signs of deviating from the group rhythm. They approach from multiple directions, gradually applying pressure without directly attacking. Short, continuous attacks force the target to change direction multiple times. When the pack rhythm is broken, the target individual can no longer maintain a safe position within the group. The distance is widened, reflexes become slower, and they are easier to control. The chase ended when the wildebeest lost its connection with the pack, while the feral dogs maintained constant pressure. In a direct competitive environment, hyenas excel with their endurance and ability to maintain pressure over extended periods. They advance in controlled steps, utilizing their body mass and spatial control instincts to maintain an advantage. The pressure is maintained consistently, forcing any competitor approaching the area to react immediately. From a safe distance, wild dogs observe and maintain their rhythm before approaching. They move flexibly, constantly changing direction to avoid being locked into position. Individuals that deviate from the rhythm are attacked quickly and then retreated, preventing the pressure from settling at a single point. The balance begins to shift when the hyena's movement rhythm is disrupted. Control directions are no longer synchronized, and distance is no longer maintained consistently. The hyenas are forced to retreat, while the wild dogs maintain a continuous pace of close engagement. This is a type of confrontation with no clear finishing move, relying entirely on rhythm. When one side loses the ability to maintain the rhythm, all advantage disappears. Wild dogs maintain their advantage through discipline and synchronization throughout the entire process. At familiar watering spots, crocodiles demonstrate an accurate ability to remember the movements of their prey. They hide, maintain a stable position, and wait for the right moment to act. This control of space makes any close approach risky. While drinking, a wild dog was momentarily off guard. From beneath the water's surface, the crocodile launched a swift attack, securing its weaker target. The pack of wild dogs didn't retreat immediately, signaling and moving around the area to provide support. The confrontation ended with the crocodile maintaining its positional advantage. While the pack of wild dogs were unable to change the course of events, support efforts were made but insufficient to reverse the situation. The crocodile maintained control, while the pack of wild dogs were forced to leave the watering spot.
Fighting.
On the vast grasslands of Africa, every encounter with a lion can escalate into an attack in mere seconds. From close-range bursts of speed to intense territorial battles, Safe distances are quickly reduced as pressure builds. And in these captured moments, the lion's survival instincts have resulted in some of the most ferocious attacks ever seen in the wild. In the middle of a wide expanse of grassland near the shallow water's edge, a herd of buffaloes began to close in formation upon detecting unusual movement in the distance. Buffaloes possess a very strong herd defense instinct and often quickly gather into a dense formation to protect weaker individuals. With their heavy bodies, thick necks, and extremely strong shoulders, they generate a powerful charging force in close-range confrontations. But when one buffalo slowed down behind the group, many lions began to lower their bodies and quietly move around in different directions. Constantly pressured from behind, the buffalo plunged into the shallow water to try to widen the distance and create more safe space ahead. Even so, the lions did not give up, continuing to maintain their encirclement and waiting for the right moment to close in again. When the buffalo tried to leave the water to return to dry land, the entire pride of lions immediately accelerated and continued to press from multiple directions. After repeatedly changing direction to escape the constant pressure, buffalo gradually lost its ability to maintain a safe distance at close range. Despite attempting to react with short headbutts, buffalo was ultimately completely outmaneuvered by the lions on the open ground. In prolonged chases across the savanna, the predator's patience sometimes creates more pressure than the initial attack. Buffalo had a significant advantage in strength and close-range defense. But as the distance was constantly being squeezed from multiple directions, the chances of escape gradually diminished over time. Beneath the low foliage near the grassland, an adult leopard begins to leave its resting place after a long period of observing its surroundings. Leopards possess highly accurate ambush instincts and usually only attack when they are close enough to control their target. With strong shoulder and jaw muscles, this predator maintains a significant advantage in one-on-one confrontations. As the leopard moves into open ground, several lions begin to move slowly from different directions to close in. They don't charge immediately but continuously narrow the distance, while the leopard must constantly turn to counterattack with its claws and short bites. But each time it deals with one direction, the space in the other direction is further closed. After repeatedly retreating within the encirclement, the leopard begins to lose its ability to maintain a safe distance from the pride of lions, despite still trying to react and find a way out. The leopard is gradually overwhelmed by the larger numbers and the constant pressure from multiple sides. Ultimately, the leopard was forced to abandon the area it had just controlled to avoid further ground confrontation. In large-scale confrontations, individual reaction capabilities often diminish as the space for movement shrinks. Leopards have a significant advantage in reaction speed and close-range ambushes, but lions exert more effective pressure when working together as a group. And when escape routes are no longer wide enough, the advantage of control can shift rapidly on the ground. Along the territorial boundary between the vast grasslands, a mature male lion constantly moved around the area, checking for lingering scent trails on the ground. Lions have a very strong territorial instinct and often use roars and patrols to prevent other prides from encroaching further into their territory. But when strange scent trails began to appear deeper within their patrol area, tension between the two lions quickly escalated. Initially, they simply stood facing each other, roaring loudly to warn each other in the open space. But as the distance narrowed too quickly, the confrontation quickly turned into close-range, head-on lunges. They repeatedly pressed against each other's necks, using their body weight to pin each other to the ground, and neither wanted to back down. After many lunges and subsequent separations to create distance, signs of exhaustion began to appear more clearly in both lions. Despite continuing to apply pressure at close range, both eventually had to separate from the confrontation due to their rapidly declining stamina. In many territorial battles in the wild, the outcome sometimes doesn't come from the absolute strength of the opponent, but from the body no longer having enough energy to continue. After a long journey across the dry grasslands, the African wild dog pack began to slow down to maintain formation. They live in close-knit packs, always moving close together and reacting quickly to the pack's signals. As their pace slowed, small gaps began to appear behind the pack. From the nearby low grass, a lioness began to lower her body and silently approach the wild dog pack. When a young wild dog lagged behind, the lioness immediately accelerated over the short distance and lunged straight at her target. The pack turned around, and the bite occurred almost instantly. Immediately afterward, the remaining wild dogs quickly circled around, barking loudly to pressure the lioness. Some individuals feigned close approach and then quickly retreated to distract the young dog, a common behavior in their pack that demonstrates their ability to support their pack. However, the wild puppy was still unable to escape, as the lion had completely taken control at close range.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God.
Right at the edge of the murky water near the shallow mud flats, a large crocodile lay motionless for hours, maintaining control around its riverside prey. Crocodiles possess a very patient ambush instinct and usually only react when their target is close enough to the water's edge. With a bite force that can exceed 3,000 pounds per square inch in large individuals, this predator still creates immense pressure in the narrow space near the water's surface. As the crocodile turned its head in one defensive direction, the lions on the other side began to move closer on dry land. They didn't all charge at once, but constantly shifted positions to close the distance around the crocodile from multiple directions. The crocodile continuously opened its mouth, turned its head, and used its bite force to prevent the lions from getting any closer. But as the number of lions increased, the space for the crocodile to maneuver began to disappear. After repeatedly changing direction to react to pressure from all sides, the crocodile gradually lost its ability to maintain its position around the carcass. After being forced to close the distance several times, Crocodile was forced to slowly retreat to the water's edge as the lions completely occupied the surrounding land. In nature, crocodiles control the narrow space near the water's surface very effectively with their biting force and patient ambush abilities. But on open land, constant collective pressure from multiple directions can cause a large individual to gradually lose control of the area. And when the defensive space is no longer wide enough, the outcome of the confrontation changes very quickly. On a dry patch of ground near the carcass in the middle of the grassland, a group of hyenas began to gather, constantly observing the surrounding movements. Hyenas are very quick to detect weaknesses and often maintain sustained pressure during prolonged chases. With their powerful bite and resilient bodies, they still hold a significant advantage in many food competitions on the savanna. But while the hyenas were still gathered around the carcass, several lions suddenly appeared from the nearby low grass. The entire pride quickly charged forward, relentlessly pushing ahead, causing the hyena formation to become disorganized on the open ground. As many fled in different directions, a young hyena lagging behind was gradually separated from the rest of the group. Immediately afterward, a male lion accelerated at close range and charged straight at the lagging individual. Lion quickly used his foot to pin the young hyena down, completely securing his position before it could escape the open space. Although the others continued to move around to observe, the young hyena was ultimately severely injured and unable to break free. In food competition on the savanna, smaller, slower individuals are often the first targets when pressure comes from multiple sides. Hyenas have a significant advantage in stamina and the ability to withstand impact in prolonged confrontations. But when formations become disorganized, safe spaces can disappear in just seconds. Amidst the low-lying grassland near the dry land, an adult antelope constantly observes the surrounding movement as the herd moves through the open area. Antelopes react quickly to danger and often change direction frequently to maintain distance from predators. But as the herd begins to move deeper into the open area, gaps gradually appear behind the formation. Hidden beneath the low grass nearby, a lioness begins to lower her body and silently follow the antelope herd moving ahead. When an antelope suddenly runs away and constantly changes direction to widen the gap, the lioness maintains her pace behind instead of immediately accelerating. But after only a brief pause in changing direction, the lioness instantly accelerates at close range and quickly closes the gap. Just seconds later, the antelope no longer has enough space to maintain a safe distance ahead. Despite her efforts to keep going, Antelope was eventually cornered by the lion at close range and unable to escape. In high-speed chases, even a momentary slowdown can completely alter the outcome. Amidst seemingly tranquil rivers, crocodile silently takes control through patience and precise calculation. In a fleeting moment, the still surface of the water can transform into a decisive approach. What is recorded is not just the action, but how instinct and the environment together determine the outcome of survival. At the boundary between the grassland and the shallow water, the buffalo approaches with the heightened vigilance of a closely knit herd. Upon detecting any unusual movement or scent of danger from afar, the entire herd can quickly adjust their defensive formation. With their large, curved horns and hard, armor-like bases, buffaloes are always ready to take their positions when necessary. As a buffalo steps down to the water's edge, a crocodile lies in ambush just below the murky surface. The crocodile suddenly lunges and pulls forcefully toward deeper water, causing the buffalo's stance to be thrown off the bank. But the buffalo quickly sinks its feet into the firm ground and uses its body weight to pull back. The struggle creates two distinct opposing forces for a few tense seconds before the crocodile is forced to loosen its grip and slide toward deeper water. Its large mass and balance allow the buffalo to regain its footing completely. In an aquatic environment, the tactic of dragging the prey down to a deeper depth can be very effective. But with sufficiently heavy prey and a firm grip on the ground beneath their feet, that advantage is not easily exploited. Along the riverbanks, lions always maintain a very clear hunting instinct. Upon spotting a weak target or one separated from the group, lions can switch to a burst of speed in just a few seconds. With a bite strong enough to hold large prey, lions are often confident approaching the water's edge to observe more closely. But this confidence also leads them closer to danger. An immature lion approaches the riverbank when the water looks calm and shows no obvious signs of danger. Just beneath the murky water, a crocodile is already lying motionless, waiting for enough distance. The moment the lion loses its balance, the crocodile springs up with a short burst of speed and pulls the lion away from safety. The lions immediately roar in warning and retreat to maintain distance from the water's edge. The crocodile doesn't need a prolonged confrontation. It simply needs to disrupt the initial balance. At the boundary between land and water, the advantage clearly favored crocodile, and the changing environment determined the entire outcome. The encounter was brief, but left a distinct silence on the riverbank. Strength on land no longer held the decisive role when the terrain changed. In nature, control does not belong to the strongest, but to the one who masters their environment. Late in the afternoon, the wild dog pack advanced toward the water's edge, maintaining their familiar tight formation. Their instinct to react to collective signals kept each individual watching the others. But at the water's edge, even a momentary lapse in coordination could create a dangerous gap. When a young individual slowed at the edge of the formation and crouched too close to the water's surface, crocodile silently registered their position from the slightest vibrations. Crocodile remained motionless until the distance narrowed sufficiently. In an instant, Crocodile sprang from underwater and locked onto its target before the wild dog could regain its footing. The tense moment didn't last as long as usual. Instead of disintegrating, the entire wild dog pack turned back almost simultaneously, closing in on the ambush area and applying continuous pressure around Crocodile. That coordinated effort forced Crocodile to adjust his position, creating a gap for the trapped individual to escape to shore. In deep water, surprise is important, but collective strength is sometimes even more decisive. On the Serengeti grasslands, tens of thousands of wildebeest move in herds during migration, maintaining constant observation among themselves. A single unusual movement can cause the entire herd to change direction almost instantly to maintain formation. With their enduring stamina and ability to maintain a steady pace, wildebeest approach the water's edge to continue their river crossing. When the flow becomes crowded and chaotic, an individual loses their rhythm and strays from the formation for a few short seconds. Under the murky water, the crocodile lies motionless for a long time to conserve energy and wait for sufficient distance, then accelerates in a very short burst to lunge forward and lock onto its target before the prey can regain its balance. In the deep water, the individual is pulled away from the migratory flow and quickly loses control. Ahead, the wildebeest herd continues crossing the river, maintaining the rhythm of their migration. Just a few seconds of losing your balance in this environment is enough to completely shift the scales of survival. In shallow waters, hippo maintains its territorial and juvenile protection instincts with almost instantaneous reactions. When sensing approaching danger, hippo doesn't retreat but charges directly toward its target to repel the threat. With its wide jaws and powerful bite, hippo is capable of inflicting serious injury on many large species. When a young hippo slightly separates from its protective circle, crocodile quickly recognizes the opening and approaches silently underwater. Crocodile suddenly lunges forward in a very short burst to lock onto its target. But the reaction from the adult hippo is almost instantaneous. Multiple hippos simultaneously surge forward, forcing crocodile into shallow water and diminishing its ambush advantage. Crocodile is forced to loosen its grip as the safe distance is no longer maintained. The encounter ends without the outcome crocodile had initially anticipated. In an aquatic environment, success largely depends on whether the target remains within the protective system or has separated from the formation. Near the edge of the muddy water, leopard approached in its familiar low stance, moving stealthily and precisely. As the terrain shifted from solid ground to quicksand, its agility advantage began to diminish noticeably. This change presented an unpredictable risk. The moment leopard's foot sank deep and its movement faltered, crocodile accelerated from beneath the murky water. Crocodile lunged diagonally, striking Leopard's lower body to break its stance. Leopard spun to regain its balance, but the quicksand shifted the advantage toward Crocodile. Recognizing the unfavorable environment, Leopard proactively retreated from the mud to conserve energy. Crocodile ceased the pursuit once it left the water's edge. The confrontation ended with the advantage belonging to the one who mastered the environment. Under the seemingly calm surface of the water, crocodiles remain motionless for extended periods, waiting for the right moment to act. Their thick skin and hard bone armor help them withstand impacts, while their powerful tails provide strong propulsion when needed. However, as the dry season shrinks their territory and another crocodile enters the area, this patience quickly turns into a tense confrontation. The distance narrows little by little until the water suddenly becomes turbulent. Both crocodiles whip their tails to accelerate, lunging sideways and attempting to lock onto their opponent's jaws to gain an advantage. Heavy collisions occur briefly but fiercely as both try to control the depth of the water. After several exchanges, one crocodile gradually loses its central position and sinks lower below the surface. The weaker crocodile proactively retreats to darker waters to avoid further energy expenditure. The result was not absolute dominance, but a well-timed retreat strategy to ensure long-term survival. In the late afternoon light on the savannah, Impala approached the water's edge with the familiar vigilance of a species always facing danger. Impala possesses a very quick survival reflex. Even the slightest unusual movement is enough to cause the entire pack to raise their heads in observation. With keen eyesight and hearing, Impala usually detect danger from a distance, but the water's edge always narrows that distance. When an impala bowed its head to drink longer than the others, the crocodile silently determined its location by the vibrations spreading across the water's surface. The crocodile remained motionless until it was close enough to gain an advantage of surprise, then sprang into action with a lightning-fast dive to lock onto its target before the impala could retreat. The event unfolded in just seconds, faster than the collective reflexes of the entire pack. Impala lost the opportunity to accelerate because he was standing too close to the water's edge and had no room to change direction, making the outcome almost instantaneous. On the open savanna, Impala controlled the distance very effectively, but at the deep water boundary, the advantage could shift in an instant. In the ocean world, advantage doesn't come from speed, but from the ability to maintain pressure over time. Killer whales don't rush to approach, but instead alter every small element in the space surrounding their prey. Distance, direction of movement, and the environment are all gradually adjusted. And once everything has deviated from its initial state, the outcome is virtually fixed. In deep water, Sharks maintain a steady rhythm of movement to control their surroundings. They rely on their sense of vibrations, stable swimming direction, and quick reflexes to maintain the upper hand. Their bodies are always in a state of readiness, capable of handling many changes in their environment. But this very stability also makes it difficult for them to recognize pressure building from multiple directions. From various directions, a group of orca begins to form a control circle around their target. They don't immediately swarm, but maintain formation, adjust their position, and gradually tighten the space in a very regular rhythm. When the right moment arrives, the attack is launched in a short, precise, and coordinated manner. The hunt doesn't involve a prolonged chase, but focuses on quickly gaining control of the prey. After establishing dominance, the orca don't use the entire prey in the usual way. They focus on the most energy-rich part, shortening the time and optimizing the benefits of the hunt. The outcome is determined not only by the ability to take down the target, but also by how they choose the most valuable part. Sharks lose not only in confrontation, but also because they are put into a very effective tactic. The key point of the situation lies in how the pressure is distributed evenly instead of concentrated in a single direction. Killer whales don't hunt in a way that takes everything, but in a way that selects the right part needed in a short amount of time. This shows that the hunt relies not only on the instinct to attack, but also on the very precise use of energy. In nature, efficiency is sometimes more important than the scale of the victory itself. On floating ice floes, seals maintain their survival instincts by clinging to the stable surface and constantly observing their surroundings. They don't stray too far from their position, prioritizing distance from the open water below. Each movement is short and controlled to avoid falling into an unfavorable environment. This reliance on the ice creates a temporary safe zone, but also limits their reactions when pressure begins to build. Not far away, killer whales don't rush to approach directly, but maintain a stable distance and move in sync. They swim parallel, adjusting their position and creating controlled waves toward the ice flow. Each movement has a clear objective, gradually reducing the stability of the seal's clinging position. The pressure doesn't come from a single attack, but is increased in calculated steps. When the continuous waves disrupt their grip, the seal is forced to fall into the water for a brief moment. At that point, the advantage shifts entirely to the orca. Attempts to return to the ice flow are no longer quick enough to restore their original safe position. The outcome is determined when the environment changes and the target no longer holds the topographical advantage. The entire situation illustrates the clear difference between maintaining position and controlling the situation. The orca doesn't need to attack immediately, but controls the situation until a clear opportunity arises. The seal can only prolong its survival, but cannot change the course of events when the environment is controlled. In nature, effectiveness often comes from patience and precise coordination. During migration, whales rely on the bond between mother and calf to maintain a safe zone. The mother constantly adjusts her swimming direction to shield and maintain a stable distance from any changes. The rhythm of movement is kept steady, creating a sense of control in the open space. But that state only exists as long as the formation remains intact. From a safe distance, orca gradually close in and force the formation to change direction. They divide positions, force direction, and cause the calf to begin to deviate from the original protective line. The stable swimming rhythm is gradually broken as escape routes are no longer maintained. Pressure increases with each step, leaving no opportunity to readjust the formation. As soon as the calf deviates from its safe position, the situation shifts in favor of the orca. The mother immediately turns back to protect, but her reaction is not quick enough to restore the original distance. The constant pressure prevents the target from returning to the formation. The outcome is determined from the moment the link is broken and the young one is isolated. In a sandy bottom environment, stingrays rely on blending with the substrate to maintain a temporary safe distance. Their flattened bodies help them cling to the bottom and reduce their visibility from above. They keep their movements very low, waiting rather than leaving their position too early. This creates a sense of control, but their reaction will slow if the distance is suddenly broken. Without applying pressure early, the orca maintains a hidden position and approaches at a shallow depth. It adjusts its angle of movement to keep the target within close range, then waits at the right distance before unleashing a powerful tail whip. The impact is quick and concentrated, knocking the stingray off its bottom clinging position. The situation shifts from a static state to one of loss of control in a single instant. Immediately after the strike, the orca does not continue to press but leaves the area. The stingray is briefly unstable, but there is no further pursuit. The outcome of the situation is not determined by consuming the prey, but by stopping after the initial impact. In this section, it is noteworthy that the aggressive behavior is not directly tied to the need for food, but may be related to skill training or curious interaction. With their ability to constantly change direction, dolphins gain an advantage by maintaining consistent distance and speed. The group's swimming rhythm remains uniform, allowing each individual to react quickly to unexpected changes. This coordination opens up many escape routes in the open space, but that advantage depends entirely on the uninterrupted rhythm of movement. On the outer edge, the killer whales don't rush in but begin to pressure the entire group. They divide positions, maintain distance, and force the dolphin group to constantly change direction to stay safe. When the rhythm of movement becomes chaotic, one individual accelerates and lunges in at the right moment. The approach is strong enough to destabilize a dolphin and send it flying out of the water, creating a short gap. Immediately afterward, the speed advantage is no longer maintained. The disrupted swimming rhythm narrows the escape routes, while pressure remains constant. The killer whale's coordination prevents the target from regaining a safe distance. The outcome is determined from the first moment of instability, when speed is no longer the deciding factor. On the edge of the ice floe, penguins maintain their survival instincts by moving in groups and observing before diving into the water. They don't dive immediately, but wait and assess the surrounding environment to minimize risk. Each approach to the ice edge involves a brief hesitation, a way of monitoring the potential danger from below. This habit prolongs the safe time, but doesn't eliminate risk entirely. Below the surface, the orca maintains a low position and monitors every movement on the surface. It doesn't apply pressure prematurely, but waits for the exact moment the target begins to dive. When the distance is close enough, it accelerates in a very short burst and approaches vertically. The entire movement is kept secret until the very last second. The moment of contact occurs just as the penguin leaves the safe surface. Its range of movement is limited, and there isn't enough time to return to the ice floe. The advantage shifts to the killer whale as soon as the environment changes. The outcome is determined by the precise timing of the appearance, not by the duration of the change. On the sandy shore, the sea lion maintains its survival instinct by choosing a location near the shore to rest and observe. It trusts in the short distance between its body and the safe zone above the sand, where the underwater danger seems to have been left behind. This familiar feeling of safety lowers its vigilance, and that's when the true distance begins to be misjudged. Outside of the shallow water, the killer whale doesn't rush to approach, but maintains a wide circle to gain momentum from a distance. It waits for the exact moment its target believes it's safe, then accelerates a short distance and launches itself straight onto the sand. The entire approach is very quick, based on a calculation that accepts the risk of stranding in exchange for a decisive advantage. The situation shifts from stillness to pressure in a very short time. That moment instantly shatters the sea lion's sense of security. The attempt to leave the position was no longer quick enough when the distance was broken at a very close range. The outcome was determined when the sandbank could no longer maintain its previous role in preserving distance. In this section, what is noteworthy is not only the approach itself, but also the killer whale's highly calculated risk-taking ability. In the icy environment, polar bears rely on their stable surface position to control the situation. They swim well and can travel long distances, but their advantage only truly exists as long as they maintain distance from the ice edge. Their surface movement creates a sense of initiative. When forced to stay underwater longer, this initiative begins to diminish significantly. From below, orca pursue and maintain constant control. Instead of immediately closing in, they approach repeatedly to maintain pressure and force the bear to swim continuously. Each time the distance is broken, the bear loses a portion of its momentum. The situation gradually shifts from short-term control to prolonged attrition in deep water. As soon as the momentum is lost, the polar bear is completely outmaneuvered. Efforts to maintain distance are no longer effective. While the orca retains the advantage underwater, the outcome is determined not by strength on land, but by the ability to master the environment. In this section, the environment dictates the course of events before the confrontation comes to an end. No attack occurs in isolation in nature. Killer whales link many small actions into a controlled attack sequence, each step progressively reducing the opponent's ability to react. When the pressure is maintained long enough, the advantage shifts decisively to one side, and when the attack occurs, it is no longer the starting point, but the end point of the entire process.